Hi everybody, Olivia Reiner here in the lovely Packers visiting locker room, joining you guys after practice on a Wednesday with none other than Jim Owczarski. We are here to deliver some news for you guys, chat about practice, take your questions all over on our social media pages. We are live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube, so
all the things.
All of the social media platforms. Where aren't we yet? I guess we're not on Instagram yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we can go live to Instagram, but at least, on the software
stream,
that we
right.
use. But that would be my one suggestion, is that somehow we add Instagram, because I think we got to go reach that audience too,
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, hello. Hope you guys are having a good night, good morning. Maybe you're somewhere else in the world where it is early enough. If you're over on Facebook, leave us some comments, some questions, whatever you have. I will get to those on my phone shortly. If you see me looking down on the phone, it's because I'm looking at your questions, not because I'm texting my friends about what I'm going to have for dinner. So, just so we all know. But why don't we just get right into it, talk a little bit about today's practice, and some faces that I think some of these guys might want to know about, who made some triumphant, or not so triumphant returns. So, to start, Davante Adams has been dealing with a turf toe injury since week 4 against Philadelphia. He did not return to practice, but he did do some warm-ups today with the team, which is the most that he has done since week 4 leading up to that game. So it's an improvement for Davante Adams. Doesn't sound like very much like, he was stretching, but that being said, he was moving around, doing some running, which for the turf toe must be good news for the team. My question is, Matt LaFleur said that Davante Adams, it's going to go up until the last minute that they possibly can to make a decision with him, whether or not he'll play against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City on Sunday. How do you make a decision on him? Do you wait? Especially if Patrick Mahomes is not going to be playing, if he's not going to be playing, do you wait and say, hey, Davante, wait a week? Or if he is playing, do you bring him back, maybe if he's not entirely 100%?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I think we'll know more Thursday, Friday. They'll do some sort of workout Saturday before they fly to Kansas City. But if he can actually practice to some degree in the next 2 days, then I think he'll play. I think what we've seen from Matt LaFleur at this point, Olivia, is if they do practice in some fashion, then the guys will play. So I think that's the indicator. So today, we'll see. The injury report's not out yet because it's a late practice. He stretched, so maybe that means he's limited because he did something like indoors, or he came out after we left. So we'll see.
So you must have missed it, but the injury report did come out.
Oh, well, there we go.
So Davante Adams was the only did not participate on that list. In addition to those, so that was the only one. There were a few limiteds on the list. I believe I can pull those up in just a second, but important members of those people who were not on the limited list were Robert Tonyan, who had a hip injury, been dealing with that. We also have Darnell Savage Jr., who
that's a big one,
high ankle sprain. He returned to practice, and they were both at practice in full capacity.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, Tonyan seemed to be coming back. We saw him do a little field work last week. The Savage Jr. one is big because the high ankle sprain it suffered in Dallas, and I think this defense has really paid the price for him not being available on the back end, especially some of those tight ends and those deep shots in the middle of the field. I don't know if those are as available if Savage Jr. is playing. So no pads today, a lot of mental work. I think Matt LaFleur called it essentially 3 20-minute walkthroughs.
Is it like torso up, chest up
torso
day?
Crunching,
something
almost?
Like, yes,
no?
almost.
Okay.
Yes, quite. Not quite.
So, we'll see where Savage Jr. progresses in that way, but that's, for me, of all of them, outside of Adams, Savage Jr. returning after just a few weeks of a high ankle is important.
No pads and no helmets either,
Yeah,
which
no
I don't think we've seen
I think
yet.
Tony Brown was the only guy wearing a helmet.
Really?
Yeah. At least he had one on during warm-ups. And Josh Jackson was running around with a football. So there must have been something going on with the defensive backs room.
That's interesting. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so in addition, Davante Adams, as we mentioned, did not participate, but he did do some.
He was on the field.
He was on
at
the
some
field,
point,
did not participate in team drills or, I'm assuming, the walkthrough. The only players that were limited in practice today were Brian Bulaga, which was a veteran rest day. Jimmy Graham with an ankle injury. Mercedes Lewis, another veteran rest day. Aaron Rodgers with a knee injury, which he seems to have been nursing for a few weeks now. And then Tramon Williams also listed with a knee injury. They were all limited in practice today.
Yeah, we saw them leave the field with Adams essentially after warm-ups. So the start of individual drills, they went inside to the Hudson Center. Everyone but Adams and Tramon Williams, I believe, returned to the field when we were out there, at least just to kind of stand around. So, Rodgers we saw with a sleeve on his leg, left leg, in the locker room on Monday. So I think whatever's bothering him is there, and I'm sure we'll see him sort of in this limited capacity going forward.
Yeah, lots of people in our Facebook comments right now asking about Savage. I don't know if this is before or after we started answering some questions here. But yes, having Savage participating and being a full participant in practice, not just limited, is a good sign, knowing what Matt LaFleur has been like and how he's been treating his injured players the last several weeks. Yeah,
for sure. And look, I mean, going into Kansas City with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, I mean, you're feeling a lot better if you're Mike Pettin, if you have Jair Alexander and then Darnell Savage Jr., those 4-3 guys, to help maybe try to manage a guy like Hill who can, and some of those other big playmakers for the Chiefs, regardless who's playing quarterback for them, that's those guys are a problem. So having Savage Jr. back is, or potentially having him back, would be a big development, I think, for Mike Pettin.
Absolutely. So lots of you guys in here are asking some trade deadline related questions. So we don't.
6 days left.
Yes, yeah, we're getting there. It's almost a week. So our Tom Silverstein asked Matt LaFleur in today's press conference, with all of the wide receivers trades that have been happening over the last couple of days, if LaFleur has been in conversation with Brian Gudykunst about needs for his wide receiving core, whether or not he has any.
Right.
And LaFleur, to be expected, did not really answer the question, and he was not very straightforward about, he kind of gave a, we're always talking about how to make the team better, but that being said, I have a lot of confidence in the guys that are in the room right now. So that's the state of where Matt LaFleur is, or at least what he's going to tell us. Where do you see the Packers wide receivers right now, and do they need to go out and trade for someone or pick somebody up off the waiver? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, this goes back to Philadelphia, right? Like, and especially after Dallas, when the receivers caught 4 passes combined, they've had 23 total catches among them all, and over almost 400 yards the last 2 weeks. I think Brian Gudykunst will sit there and say this is why we kept all these guys, was to develop, and they will now, blossom into real NFL receivers. That's like, I mean, not to say he wouldn't take a call or make a call if someone's available, but I mean, again, the general manager makes this decision, at the 53-man roster in September for a reason. And I haven't seen Goody yet to ask him about this, but I'm sure he would tell me, like, we thought Alan Lazard and Jake Kumaro and Valdez-Scantling would do these things. So we'll see. If there's a move to be made, I don't think you're seeing the Packers shipping out first and second round draft picks. I mean, it would be low-level stuff, and I mean, at this point, I just don't know. With Mohamed Sanu and Emmanuel Sanders already traded, I don't know what's out there to be had for a 4th or 5th round pick.
Yeah, I'm not going to read your comment, Miss Sale, because of the profanities in there, but he accuses the Packers of being cheap. I think that, as we know Brian Gudykunst to be, I think he'll do what is right for the team, and he's willing to make moves, but I don't think he's going to give up high draft capital for something that isn't a pressing need right now.
Right. So look, I get that point of view. Like, I was very critical of Brian Gudykunst for not paying the price for Khalil Mack. Like, that guy only comes available, so just trade the first round picks. And then you pay the money. So I get that sentiment. Like, Aaron Rodgers has 5 years left, 4 years left. He's got a knee injury. They're 6-1. So I get it. I'm not saying they shouldn't make a move. It's just, it's weighing what does that mean for you? And I don't think it's a cheap thing, although I will say, I mean, $7 million under the cap, I think at this point, they probably can make any move because of the prorated salaries. They're not paying a full contract to one of these guys. But no, I don't think it's cheap. But I think it's fair to criticize or wonder, like, why hold on to a draft pick in 2021 if you can win the Super Bowl in 2019? I can't argue with you guys for thinking that.
All right, but what about other position groups? Is there a position group besides wide receiver that the Packers might want to look into?
Yeah, that's, I think, more interesting, Olivia, to be honest. I mean, I'd call around on a tight end. I'd call around on an inside linebacker who literally can play 3 downs. Like B.J. Goodson, I'm sorry, I know B.J., if he's watching this, will get mad at me because he literally just told me the other day, I can play all 3 downs. Oren Burks said today he's still working in physically off that pec injury. He's hoping he can play more because he feels he is a good matchup for some of these tight ends. And Savage Jr. coming back, I mean, maybe, but Ibrahim Campbell's ready to come back off PUP soon. Sternberger's coming back in terms of the tight end position. I don't know how much he can contribute. So, some of those spots, maybe defensive line. But again, if you're talking about trading guys, now, are you ready to jettison somebody? And while, yes, bottom of the roster can be just that, Olivia, I mean, again, Brian Gudykunst kept these guys for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Oh, food for thought, everybody. Definitely let us know what you guys think. We'll move on to a question from Josh. He wants to know, do you believe Pat Mahomes will play on Sunday? He practiced today. Yeah. So that's something.
Shocking.
Holy cow. Can you imagine dislocating your knee and 6 days later going back out to a football field? And I mean, he wasn't a full participant in practice today.
Still, but he was doing something.
Still. Yeah. I did not see video of him in practice, but apparently there is video out there of him participating in practice today. So I suggest if you can go find it, go find it. But I was told that he did not look like he was a quarterback ready to come back to football just yet. A little limping, a little hobbling, and to be expected, right?
Right. I mean, I know, but I will say this. I mean, I saw Marquez Valdes-Scantling Friday before Oakland, and if you would have asked me that day, I would have said there's no way he's playing in 36 hours. And then he catches 2 balls for 133 yards. So what these guys can do to get ready to play in a short amount of time is really otherworldly in a lot of ways. I don't know if he'll play. I think tomorrow, again, will be a big day. But our Tom Silverstein said Andy Reid was the quarterback's coach here when Brett Favre, they basically taped his ankle to the point where he looked like, he was in a mummy costume, and he sat in shotgun and threw 5 touchdowns at Chicago. So he's like, Andy Reid's got a history of if his guy can play, he'll figure out a way to get him out there and be pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Got a question here from Marcel, our German friend, he wants to know, what is the Packers' biggest problem right now on defense? He says, and I would agree with him, especially in the game last week, he says that it looked like the communication is not always great, and tackling fast running backs is still a problem, especially the former there. The communication looked a little bit off in the game.
Yeah, that was a little strange because they haven't really had that problem. Blake Martinez is usually pretty on point with that stuff, and Adrian Amos back there at safety as well. So I don't really know why that reared its head against Oakland. I would say if they have the run game is an issue. We know that. That wasn't fixed. That clearly was the game plan, a 28-point lead in Dallas and Detroit. That's why the run looked better. But I think a more pressing concern, Olivia, would be the chunk plays that continue to pile up and other teams taking advantage of those inside linebackers and pass plays. Look, the more that's on film, the more often it's going to happen. So that's something they have to fix, especially going into Sunday with Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think the Packers offense was able to abuse in the Raiders defense last week. So kind of interesting contrast there. So let's see what else we got. Paul wants to know, I would also like to know this. He's headed to Kansas City for the game, so that's wonderful. Where's the best barbecue?
Hold on a second. Olivia's always on her phone. So I actually was just sending a message. I don't know if it's the best barbecue. Maybe you'll find us there. Jack Stack is what I was recommended. I don't know. I literally just got that message from a friend of mine who lived there for many years. So you may see us there.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Ryan Wood gave me a recommendation earlier last week. So maybe if we have him on the live stream at some point this week, he'll be able to give you guys some recommendations because he has been there. Getting some comments in the chat. A question, namely, let's see, from Ryan asking if the Packers have overvalued Dean Lowry. He seems to be getting bullied a lot this year. We've got someone else. David does not seem to like Dean Lowry. Josh asking if there's any option on the D-line to be had. Lowry and Lancaster need help. Okay, so that's kind of a separate question, but I see the name Lowry in there.
Yeah, they gave Dean Lowry, $20 million? I mean, they feel he's a big part of this defensive line. I think it's fair to say he probably hasn't lived up to that just yet. Matt LaFleur said the Detroit game was, and Mike Pettin said it was his best effort of the year, and Pettin kind of alluded to the fact that he thought Dean was maybe trying too hard to do too many things the first few weeks of the year. And it's about sort of being consistent with what he did do against Detroit. I mean, they paid him for a reason. They've seen it. And it is a real thing, guys. Like when guys get big contracts, like sometimes they do think they need to do more, even though the reason they were paid was to just do what they do. So I don't think you're wrong in that the defensive line has had its issues, for sure. I think I'd throw Kenny Clark in there a little bit. He's been playing hurt. Calf, a back, a shin. But Kenny hasn't really jumped to the all-pro level yet. And so I think those guys all work together in this particular scheme.
Yes. Okay, Frank, last question here, guys. Frank wants to know, will Danny Vitale see more action? Everyone always wants to hear about Danny Vitale.
The muscle man.
I'm sure a lot of you guys were very pleased about the game. He had a career high, 43 yards receiving there, 2 catches for over 20 yards each, which in this offense, we haven't seen that a ton from him just yet. He just hasn't had the opportunities, it doesn't seem like yet, and it was obviously very good for the Packers that he did.
Right, yeah, I think it's hard to, I've said this so many times here on this, I don't know. I mean, we may not see him again catch a ball for another 4 weeks, and then he'll catch 4 passes for 60 yards.
Sure.
Like, I think what you guys can guess from Matt LaFleur is somebody will be the featured option. It's just who is it? And I think that's the point. I think he doesn't want you to know if Danny Vitale is going to be used this week, or if Aaron Jones is going to catch 6 passes while Jamal Williams runs for 90 yards. That's the point of it. And I think if you're asking these questions, that would mean Matt LaFleur is happy, right? Yeah. And so I think, so we'll see. I think Danny Vitale, you put it on film, and it makes other teams have to respect that, which may open things up for an Allen Lazard or maybe one of the other tight ends.
And maybe that's why in Davante Adams' absence, this offense has been thriving so much, is because defenses don't know who Aaron Rodgers is going to go to.
Exactly.
And the whole point of LaFleur's offense is to spread the ball out and to put guys in the spots where they will be most dominant, and if they're open, get the ball to them.
Right.
So in a way, it's been working to their advantage when Adams is out. But even when Adams comes back, the teams are still going to have to honor those guys at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'll be the one change we see. I don't think after this, Aaron Rodgers is just going to say, 17 is back, let me throw it to him 15 times. They'll want to get him involved, yes. But I think what'll change is maybe instead of catching 4 passes for Allen Lazard and 3 for Jake Kummerow, it's 2 and 1, and then the other guy, and then Adams catches the bulk of the passes. So I think the ball will still be spread around. It just won't be to as even level. But you're right, Olivia. I think that's the point. Is Rodgers at this point is building, or those guys have built capital where if it is the fourth quarter and Allen Lazard has no catches, Aaron Rodgers is still going to throw it to him, right? So I think that's the benefit of Adams being gone. But what may change when Adams returns.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good things to think about, guys. Cool. So that is all from us here tonight. Hopefully you're watching some NBA. I know I'm going to go turn on some basketball games after we wrap up here. But
is Giannis going to leave?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, go over to JS Online. Uh-oh. There's a good story that actually I still haven't read yet, but I've heard good things, so I'm going to tell you it's good. I'm sure it is good. Over on
You're going to
JS
make them
Online
so
about-
mad about this.
Yeah, we'll open up that can of worms another time,
Yeah.
but no, there's no reason for anyone to be mad.
No,
you know,
not
it's,
at us.
It's one guy's life, one guy's choice. Then again, none of us have power over.
You're making them so angry right now.
I'm not even looking at the comments. Hopefully there are none. Should be good, guys. Okay, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll be back for the rest of the week doing more live streams, keeping you guys updated at practice, after practice, in the locker room, what have you. We love chatting with you guys. We love to hear from you guys. Make sure you're following us over on social media. And, of course, make sure you're reading PackersNews.com for all of your Packers news. That's why we call it Packers News. Very helpful. Okay, cool.